Hi, this is Kanika Chetagupta, and I'm the founder and host of That's Total Mom Sense. And I am joined by Sarah Dorsett, the CEO of Nanit. It is so wonderful to have you on the show and be face to face.
Yes, finally. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, really.
I want to acknowledge how both of our audiences really rely on us for support. In mine, it's the content and the ongoing episodes that they can look forward to. And with Nanit, it's the support through its community and a reliable product. So it's really, really great to be able to provide you with this series, Milestones with Nanit, today. It's always nice to start from the very beginning. Tell us about your childhood.
I grew up in Michigan, so extremely humble beginnings. My parents were very logical, so engineering focused, but also one side of my family super artistic. But I just remember having, I would say, a really typical childhood for that time. You know, I'm going to date myself, but I just, there was so much love in my family. Family was kind of the pillar of everything. So one of the things that's so special to me working at Nanit is that I can really embrace that. So I can bring what I did, my childhood all the way through to this amazing company and product and experience.
What are some career milestones you can share with us that have kind of come to this culmination?
Oh my gosh, I have all sorts of stories, but I would say that, moving from Michigan to New York was a huge transition for me. So not really understanding what career really meant in Michigan, but I know it doesn't mean the same thing in New York.
Yeah.
So that was a big move for me to see if I could sort of make it. And frankly, I sort of failed. I actually went home to Michigan to kind of regroup a little bit. But that was a big moment for me, just kind of a whole career transition, mindset change. As you mentioned, being able to work at Bloomingdale's was just incredible for me from kind of my background, where I come from. I remember visiting New York when I was younger and loving that store. And when they actually gave me a job, I couldn't believe it. And then moving through kind of this amazing world of technology, when technology, especially in the e-commerce space, was new. So it was newer for me, leveraging technology, being able to be really creative, work with products and brands in the baby space, but also in the family space and in basically kind of every vertical. When you work in department store retail, you get to touch everything. So for a product junkie like me who just loved to shop, I was able to get so creative and learn about so many different products, but also learn about what inspires people and what they want. And again, I think Nanit is sort of that culmination of being able to say, okay, what do parents want out of a product like this? And how can I give it to them?
I want to kind of talk about you being a pioneer and a mother to boot. So tell us what it's like navigating all the different roles in your life.
Today, one of the most fascinating things about, that I find to be most fascinating about just juggling everything is that I run a family company.
Yeah.
So I get to use a lot of what happens to me in my family or what I've gone through. I have 3 children. I get to sort of go back, and I always get to be in the mindset of mom, even when I'm not, actually engaging with my children because I'm at work. And that part is pretty incredible, I think, to work for a family company and a baby company and be able to think about kids all day and think about being a mom and what it's like and what are the challenges and what do they care about.
Yeah.
So this space has been really a incredible privilege to be a part of, I think, as I've moved, throughout my career, having children, and then sort of landing in this amazing place. So I think my recommendation and kind of balancing all of it is, when you're a mom, you care so much about your family, you care so much about your children and what's going on with them every day. Moving into this space of really running a company or running a business as a mom, finding something that you can be really passionate about that really kind of comes from your heart, I think it's almost amplified when you're a mom, when you're a parent, because you know what that feels like, to care that much. And if you can put that same kind of level of commitment into a business, I think it really changes. It changes a lot about the business, but also just your perspective on family and motherhood.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I feel like when you become a mom, because you're kind of leading by example, you really are so intentional about what your life purpose is. And you want to do that work.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great. And your family is so proud of you, as is your team.
My children, sometimes I wonder if they even know what's going on.
Yeah.
No, they do. They do. And we have a lot of fun. The nice thing is working in all the industries I worked in, I've actually been able to bring them into it in a lot of ways. So they've been able to be a part of my career, which I think is pretty special too.
Yes, absolutely. Tell us some highlights of your motherhood journey, because I feel like, all pregnancies are different, all children are different, and so, yeah, a little bit about your 3 kids.
Well, I would say Nanit really spoke to me because my children, all 3, were horrible sleepers. They were probably the worst. I couldn't figure out why everybody else had a handle on it, and I just could not. I mean, it went from one to the next being worse to the ultimate worst sleeper in the third.
Yeah.
So I didn't sleep for maybe 7 years. And then finally Nanit happened. No, but I really had a commitment to that. So my journey with motherhood has definitely been trial and error, I would say. But one of my favorite things, being sort of a lifelong learner myself, has been learning from them. They are just such incredible little people.
Yes.
I love
With opinions.
I know their opinions, their personalities.
Yeah.
Each one is so unique, and being a mother for me is I think, much like yourself and all of us, the most rewarding part of my life.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes you want to do so much more and make an impact for them. Absolutely. Tell us about Nanit's birth story. How did that come to be?
So the Nanit was founded by, as you said, scientists and parents and real technology experts. The original founders of Nanit were looking for help with sleep. They weren't sleeping, so they were having babies.
Yep.
They knew the technology that they knew best could potentially help, and they wanted to develop a product that had never been seen before, really. So the Nanit camera has really unique features. It was the first in the market to really give you a bird's eye view of the crib. One of the frustrations was, I can't see the baby. I'm looking through bars. I'm missing a corner.
Yes.
And you just didn't get this full view of a baby. So they really wanted to give parents this full view so that you felt like you had the whole crib space covered.
Right.
And then they really believed that technology, and I, of course, believe this too, and it was very committed from the beginning, in the idea that computer vision technology could really help you learn about your baby. And ultimately, if it was learning, then we could have real experts also commit to providing advice to parents on how to sleep better. And from there, we could do more than just sleep too. But the idea was, let's get parents and babies sleeping better. There's a lot more about this space that parents can learn, and there's a lot that we can do to help. So it was really born out of this idea that everybody should be sleeping better, and there's something we can do about it.
Yes, that's really wonderful. And the fact that it's rooted in AI and all things innovative is really, really groundbreaking.
I think the thing I love best about that is that it is so safe. It literally is just a camera on your baby, and extremely secure camera, but there's nothing on the baby itself. There's no electronics or anything attached to the baby. It's literally just using what the camera sees, tied back to a foundation of AI and machine learning that helps provide really incredible information.
Well, give us some more intel on the baby monitor industry. What are the barriers to entry? How does one even, launch a product?
I think the industry itself has lacked innovation, I think, for a long time, or it did for a very long time. However, there were a couple of products that came on the scene, and being in retail, I saw those products. Before I joined Nanit, I sort of saw the industry start to change a little bit. Nanit happened to be a bit of an up-and-comer at that time, and now I really think that the industry has been led, or the camera kind of version of that industry has been led by advancements in security cameras and people getting more comfortable, millennials especially, getting more comfortable. They're having babies now, and they're used to being connected to everything via their phone because they grew up with it.
Right.
And everyone has, Ring doorbells and Nest cameras in their homes. And having a baby monitor that can give you that sort of peace of mind and make you feel always connected to your baby is something that I think has started the world today embraces much more so than maybe the past, where the baby monitors weren't quite as advanced as they are now. So I think modern technology helped baby monitors become much more acceptable.
Yeah, baby monitors used to be really clunky. I mean, with the walkie-talkie looking thing.
The parent unit, and then and it's like fuzzy.
Yes, yeah, you can barely
like,
see.
are you there?
Yeah, I know. And we've come such a long way that they, are just kind of seamless, and you get to, use an app to track everything, which, I mean, yeah, it just simplified everything for us. I want to touch on the competitors. So there's Google Nest and VTech and other, is it Owlet? I feel like there's a lot of different competitors in the industry. And how does Nanit kind of come out on top and shine in a different way?
Well, I think what's interesting about a lot of the technology that has come out today is some of it actually kind of can be used with a Nanit, right? So I often find that customers who want what Owlet has to offer also feel like they want a Nanit too.
Yeah.
Or, or you'll have Nanit above the crib, and maybe you'll also have a Nest. So there really hasn't been this maybe, as business people, we think about this as competition that we have to overcome, but oftentimes I find that consumers don't see it that way.
Yeah.
There's enough differentiation, I think, between what we offer and what some of our competition is able to offer. But what's really, really unique, and I know you mentioned kind of coming out on top, is what's really unique about what we offer is an experience. We have an entire experience in our app that parents are engaging with all the time. And I think the information and the way the foundation of information is built and collected, and just the safety that's kind of embedded in Nanit from the very beginning, is something that's hard to compete with. Yeah. So I often say, Nanit can be your hub, your hub for your nursery. And don't be afraid to try some of these other products too. They can give you peace of mind. But when you think about how unique the offering is for Nanit and the experience that you're really going to be tied into and it creates with you and your baby and your family, I do think that probably sets us apart overall, especially when you're talking about the crib.
Yes. And I want to touch upon the fact that Nanit is so much more than a monitor. And there's some features I want to go through because it's just, you've thought of everything. There's two-way audio, white noise option, movement and audio alerts, an easy-to-use interface, options of multi-stand or wall mount for travel or placing anywhere in your baby's room, movement map that uses a heat sensor to show you where your baby moves during the night vision, talkback technology, and when used with Nanit Wear, the Sleepwear, it tracks your baby's breaths per minute. I mean, it's like, that is incredible that you're just, thinking of every single thing that a parent is concerned about.
I remember thinking about Nanit and then talking about Nanit, and I would get so excited because I used to think, oh my gosh, I would have a nightlight in the room, and then I'd have a sound machine in the room, and then I have a camera in the room, and I'm just totally geeking out in my kid's nursery. But now it's all contained in this small little device that's just above the crib, and it's amazing what you can pack in today with technology and the right technology, and how many things you can kind of strip out of the nursery so that the nursery can just be this amazing, beautiful, warm place, where your baby wants to be, and you don't have to spend so much time thinking about how to connect it all together with all of these different things. So yes, there's much more to come with features too. There's so much we can do.
It's not just the monitor. You've diversified into various product lines. So there's breathing wear, smart sheets, the app, of course, and a subscription service. So can you touch on that?
Breathing wear was really an answer to kind of parents' anxiety about babies breathing in the crib. I know as all parents, we go in and check on the baby and we take a look to make sure they're still asleep, but I always put my hand on their chest just for a quick minute, just to make sure, there's something about breathing, that us moms and dads get so nervous about, especially when they're all by themselves and they're sleeping and they're so peaceful.
Right.
But because breathing was always a concern, we didn't want to attach anything to the baby to monitor breathing. We just wanted to make it a very natural way to engage with your baby and just get that extra check. So the idea behind breathing wear was not that you would continuously monitor breathing. You can do that if that's what you feel like you need as a parent, but you can also activate it whenever you want. So you can just check in. So you can like a hand on their chest, but you don't have to disturb them, and you can do it remotely. It works by using a pattern that's printed on the sleepwear itself. The camera tracks the motion of that pattern that is located on the baby's chest. So you can put your baby in a breathing band, pajamas, a sleeping bag, all very safe crib items that they would you'd naturally be using anyway.
Yes.
And just get that check-in. I always say, look, just have it handy, even if you don't want to monitor all the time. Our goal is not to make you more anxious. We want to remove that anxiety. But there are moments when you might just feel anxious and want a little bit more. The first time my babies got sick, I was always extremely worried about breathing, respiratory infections and things like that. That's a great time to use breathing wear. When they first started rolling over, even though they're perfectly safe when they're old enough to roll over in the crib, you still have that anxiety because you're told to keep them on their back.
Right.
So when they roll over, breathing wear can also still work. The camera can still track that movement. So all of these little moments are just areas or opportunities, I would say, for you to use breathing wear, but not make it such an kind of anxious part of your baby's kind of life and development, or your day, even if you're tracking. The other product that you mentioned, so I love the crib. I love the crib. I love the crib and everything that's kind of in it, and there's not much in it. So what are we going to do with what's in it? So we were definitely founded on the idea that the right technology could make parents' lives easier, and the right information could make them feel more confident. And Smart Sheets is one of those things. So I wanted there to be a destination for the crib. I wanted to change the way parents thought about their crib. And that destination really only included sleepwear, what the baby was wearing to sleep, and what they slept on. That is truly a safe crib. And what they slept on, the sheet, I asked my team, we have to be able to do something cool here. There's got to be something we can do. We can track breathing without putting anything on the baby, just by using a camera. What can we use the camera for with a sheet? And everyone said, well, let's measure the baby. And that was so exciting.
Yes.
So now we have a sheet that uses the camera to lock onto patterns in the crib and basically measure every little growth spurt.
Oh my goodness.
So that you can always catch when baby is going to outgrow those clothes, because they change sizes at least 3 or 4 times in the first year alone.
Yeah.
And it's awful when nothing fits, and you have to go back out when you're dead tired and buy a whole new wardrobe for them.
Yep, onesies and the whole 9, yeah.
Exactly. And just watching them grow is just incredible those first few years. You're a mom. I know exactly, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, they're so big. And just a month ago, they didn't look like that.
Right.
And Smart Sheets is really meant to do that, to really help you capture that amazing kind of growth experience overall and give you those real measurements.
Yes. No, and parents oftentimes have to wait for the pediatrician appointment to get those measurements, and now you can do it on the daily if you want.
Yeah.
Which is really great.
You can, and I think what was so interesting is I used to think, oh my gosh, when I take my baby in to be measured, you're making, I don't know, they make the little pen marks and they use the tape measure.
Yeah, and they're squirming in the,
Yeah, and you
scale.
don't know if you're getting an accurate measure or not. Sometimes it feels a little off. They're doing the best they can. This baby is not, you can't tell them to lay still and get measured. But Smart Sheets can really help you kind of figure out what that measurement really is, and just be an extra part of the conversation when you're talking about growth with your pediatrician, which is so important as a health metric and measurement as well during those early years.
Yes, yeah, and I think the fact that everything is done remotely is what I find most fascinating, because as you mentioned in the beginning, You don't have to go into the room and disrupt your baby's sleep by putting your hand on them. Or like, you know, heaven forbid, they hear the creaking of the door and they wake up. And that's the one thing that parents want to avoid, you know? And so you're in the next room and you're looking on the app and seeing if they're okay. And same thing with the measurements. It's just, it's such a like uncomfortable kind of process for the baby, and you're really keeping the baby in mind.
That's and the parents too, I think. So when we were thinking about even the nightlight that's in the camera itself, it shines up at the ceiling so that it doesn't wake the baby. But you need a little more light in the room, you know, because you're wanting to check and make sure everything's okay. So everything about how the Nanit was designed was to encourage and promote kind of that healthy sleep and that and good sleep. You know, keep baby asleep.
Yes.
But we know there's a lot of things sometimes that you have to actually do while they're sleeping, and the worst thing is waking them up, right? So so that was really always everything we do is kind of with that in mind. Even the alerts that we have set are really intended to proactively help you understand how baby's doing instead of you constantly checking.
Right.
We let you know. We let you know when there's a change, and you can decide how intense you want those alerts to be. So if you don't want to alert every time baby wakes up or every time they move or roll over, we don't have to alert you.
Yeah.
But if you do, you can set them at sort of the Uber level
Right.
of, you know, I want to hear every little thing. And we let you know, so then you don't have to worry. You don't have to think, oh, I should just check.
Right.
They're fine. We'll
Yeah.
let you know. You know, we'll let you know if anything changes in that crib, and you can decide what to do next.
That's great. So there's a lot of milestones that a child goes through. We call the segment Milestones with Nanit kind of because of that. You can't capture it all, you know, whether you're working or you just don't have to happen to be present at that moment in time. You might not see your baby's first steps or the first time, you know, she rolls over or stands at her crib. So how is Nanit helping us kind of fill in those gaps and be there?
Well, the types of technology that we have, so computer vision technology is really sort of like the gift of sight. It's really the ability to take video footage and interpret it using a computer. And that's exactly what Nanit does. So for us, I loved the idea of every time you saw something on that baby monitor, you know, the ones I had, you never got to actually take a picture of it or record it. It was just, oh my gosh, look at that, you know, if you were lucky enough.
Right.
Nanit can actually capture that first time that they call out for you, you know, when they're starting to babble and talk, when they're rolling over, when they're smiling, when they're just doing really cute, fun things in the crib.
Yeah.
Because they are, you know, once they're comfortable in that space, and our goal is to really make them feel really comfortable and safe in that crib. Because you as parents feel really comfortable, you're going to promote that. But all of those amazing, lovely moments that you wish you had a camera to capture or that you don't even know are happening in that crib,
Right.
Nanit is recording. Nanit is taking care of all that. And because it is video tech or vision tech, you're going to have an opportunity to capture those things unlike any other product would, because they don't use that particular technology. They can't recognize what's going on the way that Nanit can. So we can give you sort of a baby book on autopilot.
Wow.
Which
with
we
photos.
thought was we thought that was just a great opportunity. Photos and videos.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. And I want to kind of just touch on the longevity of the product. I mean, at first kind of thought, I feel like once you no longer have a crib and you have toddler beds and eventually, you know, older kids, it's still pretty handy to have the camera on the mount so you can spy on them.
Well, I sort of say, you know, it definitely works above the toddler bed. So I really encourage everyone to keep using it. I find a lot of parents don't want to lose all that data. They don't want to, they love knowing how their baby's sleeping and knowing how their child is sleeping. And a lot of them just transition and put it over the toddler bed. It's perfectly safe to do that.
Yeah.
But we also have a multi-stand. So a lot of times we see and we encourage parents to pop the camera off the stand and put it on almost like a little portable stand that's really easy to put anywhere in your home. So you're still so familiar with Nanit and what it's doing and what it's capturing, but this just allows it to be extremely portable. You can travel with it too, which is really popular. I don't remember ever packing up my old traditional baby monitors and dumping them and setting them up in hotels, or, you know, dumping them in my luggage. So really extending the life. You can use the camera for as long as you want, you know,
That's
and it's
great.
built that way. So you can still leverage the technology itself, and just the camera quality is so high. We have parents who use it as as a security camera when they were traveling during the pandemic.
I
You know,
get
a lot
it.
of people were moving around. They
Right.
had multiple Nanits set up in their home, and they would just check in on their house using the Nanit. Or I've had parents call and say that they used it above their children during virtual learning. So there was one set up above the desk, so when they were in their office or they just wanted to check in and make sure their child was paying attention or finishing their homework or even at their desk.
Right.
So there's really so much you can do when you think about, you know, what a camera could actually do. But this one just has a little more power behind it.
Yes, yes, it's so multi-use. That's really great. So could you share some sage parenting advice with us?
Well, I think you probably do it best with with the whole theme of everything that you do with Total Mom Sense. But my advice is often that you can trust yourself. You know, we were built to do this.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think, you know, Nanit really strives to do, and our goal as a company is to just give you information so that you get to make your own decisions, your own personal decisions about your own personal experience with your own baby, and you know, not have to necessarily rely on so much information that you may be searching for, or maybe even, you know, questioning.
Yes.
Our goal and my advice is, you know, trust yourself.
Yeah, oh, I love that. I love that. And that's a great segue for a question I love to ask my guests is, what was one mom sense moment that you've experienced where you kind of blindly trusted your intuition and it led you on the right path?
Oh my gosh, so mine is a little bit, all of my children had such unique things that thinking back on, I was just so concerned about or terrified about. So my middle son was actually born with some kidney issues, and I was told right away that I needed to put him on antibiotics. That you know, so this little tiny baby who has no ability to adjust to something that extreme. You know, if you think about within 24 hours, he was put on antibiotics, and he was miserable, and I could tell. But I thought, if I don't do it, I have this host of things that could go wrong, you know.
Right.
And I ended up actually stopping them and saying, and just trusting my instinct and saying, you know what, I actually think that it's better for him, for his entire body and his development, if I don't do this, you know, if I just, you know, try to take the best care I can, listen to doctors, but I'm no longer going to run this treatment on him. And he ended up being more than fine in the long run.
Yes.
And again, that's one of those things where I say, you know, if something doesn't feel right, you know, get a second opinion, get more opinions, or, you know, trust your gut. Obviously, don't do anything extreme. And I don't think that choice was actually extreme, because I tried it and I knew what I was doing. You know, I knew what the risks were by potentially taking him off, but it did turn out in the end.
Yes,
so I'm glad
it worked
I trusted
out. Yeah,
that one.
yeah, it really never steers you wrong. It's incredible, the superpower that we have. Is there a quote that you live by?
It's so funny because I don't remember anything.
Yeah,
That I have
happens.
mom brain
Yeah,
all the time.
all the time.
So I'm always like, gosh, you know, sometimes I even write it down just thinking, I want to remember that one.
Yeah.
No, I always live by, you know, my quote is not really anything professional, but it's actually from my dad. I can picture my dad right before I went to college. I was very stressed out about everything I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And I remember him saying, I want you to remember this moment. And he said, I want you to look at me, remember this moment. And he pointed his finger and said, you're going to be just fine. And every time I think about an anxious moment where I just can't kind of find my way out of it mentally, I picture that. And he put that in my head. And so that simple quote and just that simple visual has guided me since that day. So just want to give a shout out to Dad.
Yes,
Dad,
yes,
for that one. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Dorsett, for that one. No, it's really sweet, and I think it's so fitting because parents constantly feel a guilt, or am I doing this right, or, you know, I wish I could be there, but you're doing just fine, and you're going to be fine.
You're going to be just fine. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Is there a product that you're loving right now that you're kind of using on the daily that you want to share with the audience? So for our mom haul.
Oh my gosh. Well, I did, the one that I kind of religiously use is I bought an Oura ring. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No.
It is a ring that tracks sleep. So Nanit, sleep, me,
Yes,
sleep, all
love
of us
it.
sleeping. So Nanit tracks how baby's sleeping, but what about how you're sleeping, right? And so I wanted to know a little bit more about my own sleep patterns and what parents needed and what, even what I needed, was I doing the right thing? So being able to learn more about that. So I'm sort of loving kind of being able to understand a little bit more about how I'm sleeping. I think it not only benefits the company, but it's done a lot for me too. So highly recommend an Oura ring, and it's a ring. So
Yeah, so fashionable. I love it. So Sarah, where can we find you and learn more about Nanit?
Nanit.com is the absolute best place. If you want to get a Nanit, we're sold everywhere where you're creating baby registries. It's a big focus of ours. We want Nanits on those registries. They're wonderful gifts. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. So if you want to hear more about the things that I really care about, I am at Nanit Sarah on Twitter, and at get_Nanit is also some really great information as well, just about what we're learning and our Nanit families.
Oh, that's so fun. It was so great to have you on today, and I feel like talking about such a revolutionary company and with you at the helm, I think we all feel so excited for what's to come.
Well, thank you. This is such a privilege for me to be here with you. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you.